One little change could affect the rest of the timeline. Either it is a hero, a villain, a citizen, or anybody or anything. I am the Watcher of the multiverse, and I ask of you to come with me and explore this changed universe. Today, we will go over the beginning of the third part of Imagine if Flash Thompson became Spider-Man in 2007. How would the story go with Peter Parker having Flash's powers, Harry Osborn running away, and Flash going through a depressive state? Let us see how this would go. This story will start off when there is a burial for Aunt May, Doc Ock, the leaders of Oscorp, and other people that were killed. Dozens of people were there. Peter watches as Aunt May's coffin is being put in the ground, along with the other coffins. Flowers were placed onto each coffin, one by one. Peter was always the last one to put each flower on each of the coffins. Before the burial, Oscorp was cleared out with Rhino and Shocker being sent back to prison. Flash was far off in the distance, seeing the burials taking place. He never placed down a single flower because of his depressed state and not having that hope anymore. He didn't have his Spider-Man suit on. The night before the burials, when Flash was returning to his apartment from failing to stop Harry from killing Aunt May and Doc Ock, he wasn't able to shoot webs again, which made Flash fall into an alleyway. He wanted to know why he can't use his powers anymore. Flash tried to shoot webs, jump high, and climb walls, but none of them worked. He said in disappointment that this probably means his role as Spider-Man is over. Flash took off the suit, saying he is done, and put the suit in the trash. Flash walked away back to his apartment, never looking back at the suit even once. Now, back at the part where the burials were taking place. Everyone started to depart, but Peter was the only one there. He watched from the spot where he was, seeing Flash slowly walk away with his head down. Peter shouted out, "You killed my Aunt May." Flash kept on walking, never looking back. Peter walked to the house his Aunt May used to live in and started to pack everything up and move out, along with selling the house because he no longer had any use for it. MJ helped Peter pack, which resulted into MJ packing her stuff and leaving with Peter. The two buy an apartment that was in the middle of the city so that Peter could have a better view on where Harry was. Peter still wanted to find Harry to have his revenge, knowing that it was not all Flash's fault. Harry started all this, and he should suffer the consequences. From the night before, the same night when Flash lost his powers, Harry went back to the Osborn residence and got the things he needed and never came back. Harry made himself home in the underground system so that no one could spot him. Harry knew what he did was wrong, killing Aunt May, killing Doc Ock, killing the leaders of Oscorp, and much more. Harry knew that Spider-Man and Peter were going to hate him for this, now that there are two of them. Harry knew he had to be cautious because anyone could be the first Spider-Man. He knew he had to eat, he had to be hydrated, he needed survival. Harry decided to exit the underground system and get food and water and then return back to into the underground system. While Peter was unpacking, he drew out his Spider-Man costume thinking how he could use his powers to give him an advantage to finding Harry. MJ came and asked Peter if he was holding up alright, but Peter didn't say anything. MJ said to Peter that Flash is trying his best to take responsibility to the whole city to protect the people. Peter slammed the drawing utensil on the notebook, telling MJ not to mention Flash's name in this apartment. MJ asks Peter how much more hatred he's going to have, and Peter tells MJ that once Harry is taken care of, he will be calm. MJ goes to the door, telling Peter that she misses the Peter she used to know, and she walked out the door to get some air. Peter looks down, thinking about what his Uncle Ben and Aunt May might think of him now, someone that is bitter and rageful for their deaths. Peter went back into his drawing out the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man suit. On Flash's side of disappointment, he loses his job as a photographer because of not taking pictures of Spider-Man for days. And the job goes to Eddie Brock. Flash's life is starting to crumble. He knew he had to pay off the apartment he was living in now. So, he got a job at a pizza place, becoming a pizza deliverer. Flash couldn't believe how much of an impact this was, that Flash started to become more depressed, making Flash only go out into the city to deliver pizzas, getting groceries, washing supplies, and nothing else. Flash receives a knock on the door, and Flash asks who it was. It was MJ. He opens the door, and MJ asks him how he was doing. Flash didn't say anything. MJ sees the pizza delivery outfit, not seeing the Spider-Man suit anywhere. She asks Flash where the suit was, and Flash told MJ that he threw that life away in the dumpster. MJ asks Flash why, and Flash showed MJ why. He showed MJ that he can't shoot webs, climb walls, or anything like how Spider-Man can do. Flash told MJ that his powers are no more. MJ tells Flash that she is sorry to hear, asking what he's going to do now. He tells MJ that since Peter has the same powers, he should take the role of Spider-Man, also saying that Peter would be a much better Spider-Man than he would ever be. MJ tries to convince Flash that he's still worth something, but Flash tells MJ to please go. MJ feels bad for Flash while leaving. Flash feels even more depressed. That Flash slowly starts to make himself think, maybe he shouldn't be part of the city anymore. Flash walked out the door and walked to the park that was downtown. When Flash found himself alone, he went deep into the park and pulled out a gun. He was done with having such a terrible life. He pointed the gun to his head, about to fire, until Flash looked up, seeing a small ball of fire coming down to where he was. Flash sees that it was a small meteorite, and the small meteorite crashes onto the ground. Flash walks to the small meteorite while pointing the gun at it, with caution. Flash sees a little puddle of black coming out of the meteorite. Flash wanted to know what this thing was. He slowly stretched his hand out to see what it could do, and then in a blink of an eye, the black puddle quickly jumped onto Flash's hand, beginning to spread all over Flash. Flash quickly fired at the black puddle to try and kill it, but it couldn't even be wounded, it seemed. Flash screamed for help, but before Flash could run, Flash fell to the ground unconscious. Peter was done with his suit design. Peter looked at the suit, knowing what he could do for the city. Peter put the suit on and swung into the city as the new Spider-Man. People saw the new Spider-Man with different colors, which was the colors of the American flag. Peter did appreciate the cheering and all, but he only focused on one thing, to try and find Harry and get his revenge. He did try to find him at the Osborn residence, but he could never find him there. Harry was going through the alleyways of the city to not get attention, trying to find the right timings to get food and water. Harry heard the news about the new Spider-Man with the American colors, which made Harry believe Peter has something to do with this. Harry didn't want to talk to Peter about this yet, so he first decided to go to MJ to explain everything, whether it was a lie or not. Flash wakes up, wondering what happened and where he was. He sees himself on the side of a building, seeing it was nighttime. Flash freaked out that he was at a high altitude. Flash then noticed that the black puddle that got onto him spread it all over him, making a full-on black version of his previous red and black Spider-Man costume. Flash then notices that the symbiote has the powers that he had as Spider-Man, but he could stick to walls with just his feet, and the webs were coming out of the suit, and the power was much better. Flash enjoyed this, even though the power was a little too much. Flash looks at the reflection of himself, seeing his face covered in a black mask. Flash hears a voice tell him that he can help him get through the things he is struggling with and get revenge on Harry Osborn. Flash thanked the voice, even though he didn't understand why the symbiote was on him instead of someone else. The suit made Flash no longer want himself to be dead, but to do better as a new kind of Spider-Man. Flash jumped off of the building and dove straight into the city, and began to swing and jump high just like how he did as Spider-Man, but much more advanced. Flash landed on top of a building, saying that Black could come with a different kind of name, a name much cooler and better than just Spider-Man. While Flash was thinking of a name, Flash sees Harry dash throughout the city. When Flash sees this, he doesn't choke. He chases after Harry with a little bit of anger because of the memories of Peter's aunt body lying there at the destroyed Oscorp. Harry arrives at the apartment of Peter and MJ, and Flash is a building away from Harry, seeing what Harry was doing. Flash sees Harry hover to the window, opening it and going into the apartment. Flash jumps to the side of the building to get a better look of what Harry was doing in there. MJ was in her notebook writing down everything that she has learned in class today. Harry tells MJ that it is good to see her again. MJ sees Harry in fear, putting down the notebook and asking what he wants. Harry tells MJ that he just wants someone to talk to about something discouraging. Flash found this interesting and decided not to move, but to listen. Harry tells MJ that when Peter went to the hospital, he blamed himself for bringing them to see Doc Ock's experiment. At that time, he was told by his dead father to get revenge on Flash and Spider-Man because he says they killed him. MJ was confused and surprised that Harry was telling her this. MJ asks why he believed it, and Harry tells MJ that he was blinded. When he saw Peter have the powers Spider-Man has, he didn't know what to believe at that moment, which made him lose control and consciousness and kill Aunt May. When Flash heard this, he was still a little mad at Harry, but he had a bit of compassion on him for not understanding what made this happen. Harry asks MJ to tell him what truly happened at the fight between Green Goblin and Spider-Man, and before MJ was about to say anything, Flash comes into the room while the suit was removing the mask, saying that he'll explain it. Harry was shocked. He wasn't expecting Flash to be Spider-Man, but with a different look on his suit. MJ was also shocked that she started to believe that Flash was able to get his powers back. Harry begins to remember back at high school when Peter told him about Flash being bit by the spider. Harry adds the dots up, slowly starting to understand what happened before the Green Goblin. Flash starts to explain everything, beginning to this point, and during this, Flint Marko escaped from prison and headed to his place to visit his daughter. The daughter gave Flint a picture of her, and Flint left, promising that he will get the money he needs to save her life. When Flint left his place, there was another that escaped prison, who was named Cletus Cassidy. Cletus ran non-stop, making his way to the park as far away as possible from the police. Cletus finds himself alone and sees a small meteorite that Flash had seen earlier. When Cletus was about to check out the small meteorite, another one comes and crashes into the first meteorite, crushing the first meteorite to bits. Cletus checks it out, wondering if there was even anything good he could use to have revenge on the police, and Cletus sees a red puddle come out of the meteorite. Cletus stretches out his hand, and the red puddle quickly grabs on and goes all over Cletus. Cletus freaked out and screamed. The red puddle was all over Cletus, and it also covered Cletus's face. Cletus heard a voice tell him that he knows what he wants, and if they work together, they can fulfill their happy dreams and kill whoever they want. Cletus starts to enjoy this already, and eyes and teeth appear on his face with claws on his fingertips. Cletus screams in excitement, saying, "Here comes the Carnage." This is how the first part of the finale will end. New things are happening in a blink of an eye. If you want to know what happens next, make sure to be prepared, because this next one will have quite a bit of twists. Until that time comes, my friends, farewell.